my name is Mauro Borregeiro, and I've been playing Ultimate since 2017. And then just in terms of who I played with and kind of what my whole career kind of was. It was a very, very long stint at UCT. Just kind of started with undergrad and then pushed it into masters and things like that. And then after that, then I played with Nomad Ultimate last year. So it's the first team that I've actually played with that's not UCT, basically. And that's basically my entire frisbee career. So it's, what is that now? 11 years of frisbee almost. And within that, I haven't played with an open team outside of UCT, but yeah. And then of course went to Worlds with the U24 in 2019, which is really, really epic. So that was a campaign that I joined on. And then in terms of just my kind of handler style, or what kind of my play style that Marcus asked what that would kind of be. So I really, really love that quick kind of play with handlers, lots of resets and these short little passes and anything that kind of can involve a nice little low release flick is my favorite go-to. But that's kind of the basic play of how I like to play. It started out very much with running and loving to chase down the disc for those long hucks, and then slowly developed and being like, oh my goodness, this throwing thing is really great too. And then getting involved in, like I said, those quick little short throws and things. Obviously, wind and things like that, making a massive differentiator and kind of limiting what you can really do. So that's basically how I would describe my kind of play style. And then, in terms of where I kind of mainly play and things like that. So I haven't actually played since mixed season last year. I went away for like the last half of the year last year. So I was away. I didn't really get to play any Ultimate then. And then obviously at the moment now I haven't played Opens at the beginning of this year. So, but looking forward to and hoping to play again with Nomad now, again for mixed season coming up at the end of the year. And so that's kind of me essentially in a nutshell, I guess.
Oh, lacquer. You know what? Just listening to you talk about your play style and how you play, it's definitely something. It's a similar style to how I play, where it's the quick give and go passes. It's not
Exactly.
necessarily about how hard or how far you can throw, but like the quickness is
Exactly.
where you can really get people. And
Exactly.
and coming back from or where you started as like a
Mhm.
receiver that liked running a lot, you
Yeah.
translated that into like the throwing part of the game, which was pretty cool. And I
Yeah.
think what's cool to hear is that
Mhm.
that style of play like worked in the Wild Dogs campaign you said in 2019.
Yeah.
Can you like walk us through that a little bit? Like how did you fit into the squad, you know?
So within the squad kind of thing, I was still very much like moving in between roles. So I would almost be like a backup handler in some scenarios. So when we needed another person that could be on the disc, I was happy to do that. But then as well as also very much involved with kind of like the deep going and deep cutting kind of thing. That was also a big part of us. We had a whole play where like we'd sit at the front of the stack and then basically just bust deep on the break side. So it was very much evolved around both of those kinds of things, being able to kind of fit into be dependable on the disc when you needed to and kind of help and assist there. But then also obviously like taking the deep throw when there's no wind, it makes like absolutely complete sense to use it. And also a great way to kind of get other teams to respect you in the way you play. Like if you're avoiding certain options, then it was especially something at Worlds where any kind of weakness that they can kind of find in you, then they obviously would exploit.
Mm.
So yeah, very typical in that sense. But yeah, again, that's kind of around how we played and things, I guess.
Okay.
Mm,
Okay. Just really wanted to get this weakness thing down and
mm.
how like the stronger teams would probably like exploit that.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. Very much so.
there's a path that I want to go down there.
Mm,
You know what? I'm just gonna follow my gut. Like
yeah.
in terms of weaknesses,
Yes.
it's something that, you know, generally you don't really want to think about,
Hmm.
but what becomes very apparent at like
Hmm.
the highest level is that, you know.
Exactly that.
So
Yeah.
like how do you, well, actually, how did you deal with it at the time? That's the
Hmm.
first part of the question. And looking back, what do you
Mhm.
think would have helped you at the time?
At the time. So you're dealing with the weaknesses and things like that. I think the best kind of way is to be adaptable and to kind of really take notice of them, and that's okay. So one example, like let's just say if somebody doesn't have quite or you're playing a game, but then all of a sudden somebody's getting in your head. They've hand blocked you twice now, and then that could obviously hinder your game. And now that's if you have that mindset now of you're uncertain, you like your confidence kind of drops. That kind of really impacts you. And again, it stands out as a weakness. And I think it's in those situations having the adaptability to realize, okay, like I'm in my head now, but also I'm part of a team. Like it's not a one-man person show here. It's really kind of you need to be able to depend on your team and realize when you're getting shut down out of the game, like that's okay. Like you're getting shut down out of the game, kind of move out the way and give those other people the opportunity to potentially make a difference in a different area. So that's kind of, I think, the way I would have approached weaknesses and things like that in the game. And yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. And then, to be honest, in terms of how I would say play it again retrospectively, again is doing that as well. But then when you realize it, so I suppose it would be the retrospective look now would be more realizing it sooner. So realizing what's going on, and then kind of trying to make a change sooner rather than later. Be like, it's the last 5 points of the game, and now you're realizing what's going on. So making those realizations, accepting them, and putting your trust in your teammates to kind of find an alternative way to kind of come back. And then through that, it also helps build your confidence back up again. You find you're involved in a different kind of play, and then all of a sudden, like that, you can be back in the game. That's also not exactly a strategy, I suppose, but it's just I think it's a good thing to have and good thing to realize.
No, I think what I'm looking for, like with these interviews, is the mental side of the game. You know, when it comes to tactics, we can really get into that, but
Yeah,
that's on the field, and we'll spend as much time as
exactly.
we can, like on the field, developing something for the field.
Yeah.
But you can only get so good.
Mm-hmm.
Then another level, you need, if you want to get like the best
Exactly.
chance, you know, you have to think about these types of things, the
Yeah.
mental things. Because
100%.
how I see us going into this campaign, we're not
Mm-hmm.
going in there like number one. You know,
Yeah,
we are literally the underdogs, wild dogs. It's
exactly.
in the name. Okay.
Literally.
So if we, I don't know, find a way to peak at the right time, to
Mm-hmm.
steal the right points, to stay in the fight long enough so that it
Mm-hmm.
comes down to pure fitness, you know,
Exactly.
that could that could give us the edge that takes us from, I don't know, like 10th to ninth. You know,
Yeah,
that
it
could
really does.
so
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for, I don't know, if it's like 60% physical tactic
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for the rest of the
Mental side.
40%, the
Mm-hmm.
mental side that could just give
Yeah,
us a little bit of an edge.
exactly.
You know, so yeah.
Mm.
Um,
Agree. Yeah, makes
just
complete
think,
sense.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. And thanks for your time. Thanks for helping
No,
with that.
not at all. Not at all.
Um, while we're on the campaign,
Mm-hmm.
um, tell me about what you enjoyed. Because it's a huge opportunity, right?
It really
Like,
is.
and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm even thinking of my campaign. I didn't go as a player, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even just being there, you know, just
Mm-hmm.
showing up and being like,
Yeah.
"What's up? What can I do?"
Yeah.
It was life changing. So
Really,
yeah,
really.
tell me about your experience.
Yeah. So the whole thing in terms of the campaign, it's so I suppose it's there's almost like two parts. There's the part that where you're at home and you training this side with everybody, and like the camaraderie and the friendships that you make as well are like they're really great, and it's you get exposure to a lot of people outside of what you're normally exposed to in like your small kind of community that you end up starting playing in and those kinds of things. So I think that for first like the first part is really great, and then also it's just really cool to be involved in at such a high intensity kind of in playing a sport. So if you really really enjoy it and you really love that competitive edge and you really like to push for it, that's the part of the campaign where you can kind of really experience that. And then there's the second part, which is when you actually get to go to worlds and things like that. And then experiencing how good teams are there is just, it's unbelievable. Like, you think you have an idea of what good people are here, and then you go there and you just see people play and how fluid they are and how things just work out. It's crazy to see how like fluid some of these teams are and how slick they are. It's really, really epic. So firstly, watching them, and then you get to watch these high intensity games as well when you're actually at the tournament, and then when you get to like the finals, semi-final stages and things. And you see how people elevate themselves in those games. Like, it's really the best of that age group kind of participating at that point. And then, of course, then you have it within your own games. It's when you're playing your games and now you get to your first game and things like that, it really kind of draws the goodness out of everybody, if that makes sense. So like the good performance, and everybody just starts to excel and to work well together, and it's really, really epic to see. And something we saw with the last one as well, where the guys or the people, kind of drew it out of them, and then they won those close clutch games, or won the games where we were like, oh my goodness, where did this come from? And it's those kinds of things that the experience kind of brings out for you. Yeah, so there's that as well. But then also the chance to kind of tour with your friends is something that I think is like, it's one of the best experiences, and it kind of reminds me a lot more of kind of those school tours where you get to go with your friends, but it's in a whole kind of different context where you're actually an adult and things like that. So in terms of that, that's an experience that you don't get to experience very much often, and it's probably an experience you're not going to get, I don't know, many more times in your life, I suppose. So I think there's kinds of a whole bunch of different little experiences that you can take out of the campaign in these separate kind of parts. So yeah.
Yo, so many takeaways just from like what you're chatting about. Um, the whole thing of elevating, I think that's pretty cool. And getting to see that
Yeah,
like somewhere else,
exactly.
getting to see that like in your environment, and getting to like give yourself a chance to elevate. And I mean, there is a sort of like a level of elevation that you need to play at the highest level,
Of course.
or I guess to represent your nation, because now it's not just you. It's like there's a whole bunch of other people here as well, and they're also going for this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so it gives you a chance to just push yourself,
It really, really
to
does.
see
Yeah,
how far you can go.
exactly.
And just on that, like, how do you, w- like, what are your takeaways now? Like, Mauro, at the moment, like, what are your takeaways from that campaign, and how do you live now, because of that experience?
Um, so takeaways now from the campaign. Um, yo. So let me think about this quickly for a
No
couple of seconds.
rush, brother. No rush.
Yeah. Yeah, so I suppose one thing I think which is good, one thing I took away that I think is good to take away from these campaigns, it's not necessarily in terms of like a reaching for excellence and things like that, but I think it's just a more general kind of takeaway, is really kind of like learning to manage your expectations and things like that. So I think it's something that's a good, that's something I learned for sure from the campaign, essentially. Like, and it's something that you need to think about for the whole experience, because it can lead to either you being very disappointed or you being quite content with how everything goes. So again, that's more like I suppose, a thoughtful side of the whole campaign, as opposed to a training or like a skills development and things like that. Because that is one thing that you could also take away from watching other people and how they play. But again, you could probably do that by analyzing people's videos and things. But yeah, like I said, just more generally a way of really trying to get your expectations under control early, and discussing them as well. This is also a big thing I think that is important as well. Like discussing with your teammates and everything, like what your expectations are. It's a great way to kind of make sure they are kind of realistic and not far-reached or anything like that. And yeah, like I said, it's really something that I think if you don't consider, it could impact the way you perceive the whole experience afterwards. Because it's something that you spend a lot of time on practicing, and spending a lot of time, you put a lot of time into it in your training and everything. And yeah, so I think that's one thing that I took away from the whole experience. Yeah, that's just the first thing that
No,
came to
I think what's cool about that is
me.
like managing expectations. It seems like
Mm,
the first time I heard it, I was like, ooh, that
yeah.
doesn't sound so nice. But
Mhm,
the more you explained it, and the more you were
mm,
like, um, you need to talk to people and you need to
yeah.
find out for yourself,
Mm,
is this like worth your time?
yeah.
Is is it worth like your teammates' time for all the time that
Mhm,
you're investing,
mm,
and then making the decision together and
yeah.
saying, okay, now we go,
Yeah,
now
exactly.
that we've decided, now we go,
Yes.
and I think something that I really want to hit on this campaign, it may just be because I'm a talkative guy, but like
Mm,
communication, like it's
literally,
so key. Like
it really, really is. Yeah.
it's not just you on this thing. It's a team sport,
Mhm,
So yeah, talk. Like make
yeah.
sure that we're all on the same page. If we're not on the same page, let's figure out how we get there.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Yeah.
and not just that. I think that's like
Mhm.
pushes. Sorry, this is your interview.
No, no, no. Like back it. Go for it.
Yeah. Oh, you said back it. Okay, cool, cool. I'm with it. Okay, let me see.
Yeah.
Checking the time. We still have a little bit of
No, no.
time
All
left.
good. All good.
Checking if I've asked. There's one question. Ah, yes. Okay, this is the last question. And this question I
Hmm.
want to make sure I ask everybody.
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to be a wild dog? Like when you like
Hmm.
put the badge on your chest.
Hmm.
Because I think I really want to define that.
Yeah.
And because because you're representing South Africa,
Hmm.
the more people we get telling us what it means, the
Hmm.
better we manage our expectations, if you will.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
being someone that's played, felt the
Hmm.
experience, come out of it.
Hmm.
What does it mean to be a wild dog?
So I would. I think it's kind of gonna a common theme, and what I think it is to be a wild dog is really to kind of you're going out there and you are representing the communities that you started playing in, and that's how it starts out. But then it becomes a little bit bigger than that as well. That you're not just representing the initial little communities that you represent, but you end up representing with all the ultimate kind of communities within South Africa. And so for me, really what it means to be a wild dog is to kind of be like you're a custodian going to represent all the people within your community, and taking all those good things that you've learned from them and the way we play and how we kind of represent ourselves, and going to represent that to the rest of the world, and showing like this is how you play ultimate, and this is what our ultimate kind of culture is, and this is how we can play and be super intense but still be really, really great and fun people. um, so for me, that's really what it is, kind of to be a wild dog, I guess.
Hmm. Showing the world what your culture is,
Mm,
saying this is how we play, this is
yeah,
how we party,
yeah,
um,
exactly. There's two
and
sides
and
to it, isn't
and
it?
we're lacquer peeps. And I
Yeah,
think, yeah, that's awesome. That's
mm.
fantastic. Thank you so much, Mario.
No,
This
no, no
was
worries at all.
this was uplifting, man. I'm feeling pumped, bro.
I'm,
Sheesh.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
Oh,
No,
awesome.
thanks. Yeah, thanks, Sip, as well. It's been cool. It's been something nice to speak about as well. I haven't thought about it in a while, actually. And then Marcus sent me the message like, oh, okay, cool. It's
Oh,
nice to
sick.
think about it and be like, actually, what do I think?
Oh,